Okay, folks, welcome back to episode 10 of the Lockdown podcast. Last week we had on some of the big hitters from wheelchair basketball from a historical point of view, looking at the 90s and the inception of the game. So we had Aubrey Bingham on, Ivor Jess, and Big Paul Gallagher from the Knights wheelchair basketball, which, as we all know, that's where most of the sport originated from. And today we've got some more legends of the game within that club talking to us. So firstly, thanks very much to those guys for coming on last week. And this week we're joined by some of the guys from the Knights. So we'll have head coach Paul McKillop, Knights chairman and player, an all-round scorer Jason Kennedy, and then the rocket it is, senior player Big Matt Rolston as well. Okay, so welcome guys for coming along. And we'll also have our usual suspects with Danny and James. So yeah, guys, thanks very much for coming on. I think we're going to be talking about the naughties this week and how the experiences that you guys had coming through that 2000 era up to now, and having a chat generally about, your experiences within that sort of time period. But before we get started on that, we always do our kind of weekly roundup, which is just how everybody's been getting on, really. I usually start, so I'll give you a wee bit of an insight of how my week went. So we had unbelievable weather this week, and my son decided, let's get the pool out, Dad. Great, good idea, brilliant. So we'll put the pool out in the back garden, and his wee friend comes around, and they're messing about in the garden, and I have to disappear to take a video call. And within about 20 minutes of that video call going on, I'm kind of looking out, and I can see that they're in the water, in and out, in and out. And once I'd finished my video call, after about an hour, I went back out, and they'd filled the pool with mud. They'd been digging the mud up in the garden and just piling it into the pool. And it was just his mum was not happy at all. I'm surprised that he survived, to be honest with you, lads. I thought she was going to kill him. So that was my funny one. He just keeps doing crazy stuff. But I suppose that's a 6-year-old kid, isn't it? It's a wee bit of crack. But yeah, flip me. The amount of cleaning I had to do in that pool was unreal. But so I'll not bore you anymore. But Danny, how are you getting on?
All good. No, all good here. Couple of things, I suppose. Volunteer week this week, so a massive thank you to all volunteers, clubs, officials, table officials, everyone who makes wheelchair basketball great in Northern Ireland, I suppose. Linked to that as well, female sports bar have done some great stuff for us this week. So Rebecca Greenaway was on the Instagram takeover, which was pretty cool. But they've also shared our podcast episode with Sam a couple episodes ago, so that's nice. Other thing I suppose just to mention is the amount of webinars and stuff out there is quality. I know me and Phil have been over it and things for clubs, free training courses and all sorts. So definitely get on that. And then I suppose from a funny point of view, don't know, boys. A couple of weeks ago, we had a bit of an exploding cherry tomato in the house that ruined a white wall, and so this week was the week that I had to deal with it. And I'm not really a real man. I don't really like DIY, to be honest. So I went to this hardware store to get primer. Didn't know what primer was till about 5 minutes before I went to the shop. And get there, and I've got a bit of a script, so I look like I know what I'm on about. So go in, got the script, and what I want to say. Went in, and obviously it's social distancing, so you get the stuff handed over to you, no sweat. So passing me the primer, paid for it, happy days, no worries. Massive queue outside, 20 people. Drop the whole tin of primer in front of everybody. Primer doesn't come off stuff like ever. So trackies are done, trains are done. The pavement's probably done, but I couldn't go back. So in the car, off I went, come back, said I got home, where's the stuff? It was shut. So it's pushed in the bin. So anyway, that was me. I hate the DIY, as we know, we've said this before, but there we go. That was me this weekend.
Well, Dolly, well done. You've just signed your own death sentence.
Yeah, cheers.
Got a week.
I know. Yeah, I have, yeah.
James, how have you been getting on?
I've been all right. Yeah, things have kind of been opening up a bit more sort of around here, slowly but surely. We're seeing more shops, more restaurants, and lives are kind of getting back to normal-ish because we've got quite a low amount of cases here every day, which is really nice to see. Like last weekend, it was one of the people that we know from the island here's birthday, and hotels were opening up. So we went away for a wee weekend up north of the island and spent 2 days sitting beside the pool, which was lovely. Yeah, that was that's been the peak,
Just
really.
rub it in, James.
Yeah. You didn't feel that at the moment, did you?
It was, just kind of, that was most of it. And then since then, I've kind of been, obviously everyone sees what's happening in America right now. I've been doing my best to sort of donate where I can, sign some things, read some books, educate myself, and recommend everyone listening to this does the same. But yeah, no real crack, just trying to train and keep moving. And yeah,
Happy days. Keeping yourself as busy as always. And we're just a wee bit jealous the fact that you can just, I'm on the island here. I'm going to hop over to a hotel and go and sit beside the pool. Everybody just
my closest hotel before this was the Lansdowne. So yeah,
just a slight upgrade. But how are you getting on, Nelson?
Pretty good. I've been working from home, and I'm actually pretty enjoying it. It's quite good. And last week my wife gave me a haircut, so that's probably the most exciting thing that's happened to me in the last wee while. I'm trying to keep fit unsuccessfully, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, after the photo we have just seen, that's an upgrade.
Yeah, well.
Left the Ronaldo fringe.
Yeah, no, 100%. That was amazing. But it looks good on you. Yeah, it reminds me of whenever I first came into post, you were rocking the same thing.
Yeah, this is me from 10 years ago.
10 years.
I was saying to Matt the other day that maybe I've been my powers have been fading because I've grown my hair. Maybe now I've shaved it all off, I'll be good again. Maybe, but I doubt it.
We're looking forward to the next training session.
Fingers crossed. Matt, what about yourself? How have you been getting on?
Yeah, getting on pretty good. I suppose this last wee while everybody's been getting out and being able to do a bit more, and I was doing a bit of work. Like I live in the countryside, right on the edge of my mom's farm, and so I was out the other day with a trailer on, picking up sticks and gathering up stuff always falls down off trees. Out in this field and fill the trailer, and I come back into the house and I'm sitting down having a cup of tea, and I looks down and there's a cow pat right into the knee of my prosthetic leg. Like, I mean, anybody with a prosthetic leg knows a cow pat in your knee is no joke. Like, you don't just whip it off and stick it in the wash. It's a good hour cleaning trying to sort that out. So that was a bit of a disaster. And to be honest, I don't even know how it happened. I didn't fall. I'm like, I must be throwing it these days. I don't know. So there.
Unbelievable.
Pulsy problems, eh?
Pulsy problems. Nathan McCabe would know all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought I had problems with a mucky pool, and then you pulled that out. Unreal. Class. Jason, have you been getting on?
It's been dead on, fellas. I've been flat out with work. We haven't stopped, so there was a lot of adjustment at the start, as there was with everybody. People freaking out, but it's good to see some sort of level of a return to normality. But with that there in the good weather, it made we were very, very busy with fires around the country. But we managed, we've coped. It's been quite good. I have taken advantage of the downtime outside of that to make a lot of bread, actually. Right. So a couple of years ago, I tried to make sourdough bread and go through the sourdough starter, hell, nightmare, all that there. I don't know if any are aware, but I've cracked it this time, and I'm knocking out a load of loaves every week and making sourdough pizza to have every Saturday night. So doing a lot of baking, a lot of flour involved, a lot of mess, but no, I've quite enjoyed that part of it. It's been good.
Yeah, no, 100%. Neil was ranting and raving about your bread, by the way, and he also blames you for being unfit for next season. That's just his excuse.
Well, I'll tell you, from my point of view, our last game we played in Manchester. We played against Oldham, if I remember, our away game, and I've done not one piece of physical exercise since then. So it was the start of March.
Just fires. That's it.
Yeah. I just needed the head. Well, I needed the headspace, So I have a plan to get back into it this week. So
happy days. To be fair, I've been the same. I started off really, really good with the exercise sort of side of things, and then it just kind of whittled away, and I do need to get back into it as well, because it's not just good for your body, good for your mind as well. Anybody listening out there, get back on it again. But cheers, boys, for it's always good to hear what people are getting up to and a few funny stories along the way. But Danny's going to give some sort of stats of the era that we're looking at around the noughties. So, Danny, take it away.
Yeah, no, indeed. A couple of things. So, looking at January 2000 is where we're at. So, James, how old were you?
When I was 4.
Yeah, there we go. So, film of the time was Gladiator. The best-selling song at the time was "Beautiful Day." U2, brilliant tunes with that. TV, Big Brother launched in 2000, which obviously has been about 3,000 series since. The Ford Focus and the Peugeot 206 were the best-selling cars. Joy, aren't they? And last thing, if you remember back, Budweiser did a TV advert. What's that? That was then. So there you go, a bit of a blast from the past for you. Well, the beers are available.
Where?
Cheers, Danny. Cheers.
I know.
It's always good to get a wee bit of perspective before we get going, and you throw in the Budweiser advert, so that's always good. No, but listen, Guy, thanks very much, Danny, for giving us some stats around that era. But I suppose we'll get into it with the guys. Obviously, we've got Paul here, Matt Rolston, and Jason Kennedy to talk about the kind of naughties and their experiences in the club at the Knights Wheelchair Basketball Club, who, by the way, are 30 years old this year. So unbelievable achievement, guys. But I suppose I'll go kind of whizzes back in time, as Danny's already done. And I believe first through the door was Matt Rolston. Matt, give us a wee insight into how you got involved at the club, at the Knights Wheelchair Basketball Club.
I would have been 11 years old. I was an amputee then since I was 7 after a farming accident. So I'd been going to Musgrave to get fitted out with legs, and legs were right at the start. They were a crazy bit of kit, you know. They were leather strap up and aluminium, really clunky things, and it's a way back in the day. And so somebody had said to my mom then about well, first of all, you're an amputee, you're struggling to get exercise, you know. The only thing I'd been doing is like climbing in the garden. There was nothing really to go and get stuck into. And so somebody had said to my mom, there's a sports club, wheelchair basketball. I had honestly not a clue about it. I'd never seen it. I had no idea what I was going into. And so my mom brought me up, and she said that on that first night I told her it was the best fun I'd had in a very long time. And so my mom thankfully brought me back. And the Knights only trained 1 day a week at that point. I think it was a Wednesday. So my mom brought me every Wednesday pretty much for the next 5 years until until I got my license and started driving myself. Yeah. So the club at the start, I suppose I was the only junior at the start. There wasn't there was a bunch of guys, you know, Paul, the Gallagher brothers, and Jim Corbett and Ivor and Aubrey and Michael Monas and all those crew, and then a few other boys that were back in the day that maybe left the club in the next 10 years, you know. Yeah. So it was they made me feel really welcome. Like I would have, Paul Gallagher's brother Adrian would have come down and done me 1-to-1 sessions with me, and maybe Michael Monas's mom, she would have come and done like a bit of shooting with me for half an hour, Margaret. And actually, like I was saying to Phil the other day, it took me 1.5 years before I actually scored a basket. And it was that big an occasion that when I scored it, Margaret had been waiting for 1.5 years. When I scored it, Margaret went, "Whoa!" and run off and had a medal waiting for me. Give me a medal.
Class.
In there. Motivational stuff right there.
That's class.
So they really looked after me. I was, I suppose, a brand new thing, them having a kid on board. And over the next, maybe, I'm not sure exactly when Paul came on the scene, but I think over the next 3 to 4 years, it really started to grow. By 95, I think, there was a junior development squad we were trying to work on, and we might have been away to Stoke Mandeville in 95, 96 or something like that. So at a wee while just playing about with the lads, but it was amazing, you know. It was just a brand new thing that it's so good to get set loose in something that you could move around so well in after being restricted, you know, for not being able to get stuck into things with being a double amputee. Yeah. The sport, yeah, it just it was an amazing thing, amazing door that opened right there.
Yeah, it sounds like it had a massive impact on you, and especially that lady, it meant so much to her as well to actually go out, buy a medal, have it sitting on the side and just waiting for your first basket is just unbelievable. That's
yeah. Yeah, she was an amazing woman, and the Monases, so they're right there at the start to put so much work into it. like the first 10 years where, yeah, there was a lot, like the boys would have been telling you about Ivor and Paul and Aubrey. You'd have heard all that then in the last podcast, but they contributed to a very good decade, yeah.
What was that kind of like to get a new crop of young people with different types of disabilities, it kind of all mixing and mingling with each other, and then with the influence with Ivor and Paul and Aubrey and all those great guys that we talked about?
Well, I suppose you realised that as a kid, you realised how far ahead these boys were. You know, it was such a big step to imagine getting into the senior team.
Yeah.
And the guys, they always pushed for a really high standard. You know, the club was very professionally run, and they really weren't happy with staying where they were. They were pushing to get to the top, and they were moving up the league. So they moved up the third division into the second, up into the first. So as a kid watching this, you know, the dream was to get on that seniors team. It took a long time before I got any minutes on there, you know. I think I remember getting minutes in a game in '95. So like 5 years after I started, or 4 years or 5 years after I started playing, before you might have got a couple of wee minutes here and there with the senior team.
Yeah. So, what about from a junior perspective? Like whenever you're seeing people like Paul McKillop and other guys, younger players coming through the door, how did that make you feel? You know, as a young person who had joined the club, didn't have any juniors really around you, it was all about the senior team. How did that feel to be kind of exposed to different juniors with different types of disabilities?
Well, I suppose it's like you've nothing to compete against when you're competing against adults. You know, you can't take anything from it if they're playing down to your level. So when you've got kids in, you're all able to compete against each other. So it was a great environment for that, you know, for the competitiveness. And I think our first trip away was to Stoke Mandeville, and we did a juniors tournament over there in '95 or '96. So it was right on the birth of some big players that come into the noughties. Like, so Chris O'Neill, a player that's unfortunately not with us anymore, he was a massive part, you know, and you've seen the talent coming through at these early stages that was very well developed by the end of the '90s. The birth of new players that were going to carry forward and become big key players in the noughties for the Knights, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%, and 100%. Jason, just give us an insight, because obviously we're talking about people with various different types of kind of pathways coming in. How did you become involved with the Knights Wheelchair Basketball Club?
Well, it's actually a well-told story now, but I always like to tell it just for a wee bit of background for those that maybe don't know the sport or would be a bit nervous about joining it. So I was playing basketball for Queens. We played in the Irish National League at the time. And I think even that season we might have been in the Irish Super League, which is like for anybody who's a football player playing Irish League or League of Ireland, you know, in the Premier divisions, you think you're top of the pops, you know, and you thought we were great. My dad met the legend and the aforementioned Paul Gallagher in a bar in Derry, and they struck up a bit of a friendship. Discovered that Paul played basketball as well, and my dad said, my son plays basketball in Belfast, probably not knowing the geography very well, because until I got involved in wheelchair basketball, we didn't travel for sport. We played sport very sort of locally, especially for coaching. Your team was close to where you lived, you know. We would have travelled over Ireland with the Queens in the National League. So my dad came in one day, or I was talking to him on the phone, he goes, I told Paul Gallagher you'll coach the Knights. And I was like, what? I'm playing the running game of basketball at the absolute pinnacle of my career. I'm not going to coach disability sport. That's going to be such a step down for me. And it was a prejudice and bias that I had for absolutely no reason, because at that point I knew nobody with a disability.
Yeah.
So I thought, because my dad's got it set up with Paul, I'll go along. And I've spoken to Paul a couple of times on the phone, sounded like a really nice guy. He was going to come, as Matt said, brilliant fella, get you into the sport, lots of help. Came, picked me up, took me to training. But my idea was, I'll go along, I'll do one session out of politeness and say, no thanks, it's not for me. And that was it was June 2000.
Ballymena.
I've been there ever since. But one of the things I'll tell you that really impressed me was one sport in Ireland or Northern Ireland. It's quite closed, we knit communities, you know, it's quite elitist. I went to wheelchair basketball, and I didn't know at that point that these guys were really at the top of their game. the friendliness, the acceptance. And I'm able-bodied. I don't have a disability. I didn't have, when I've heard these other podcasts throughout, those type of barriers to break down when I went in. I was able to just walk in. As I say, the friendliness. But when they all started shaking my hand, I was like, God, these guys are all really strong. And the girls that played for the team as well. And as I say, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, the career that I've had out of that there has been absolutely phenomenal. And it has helped me mentally and physically as well. But that's the short story of how I got into wheelchair basketball.
Yeah. It's amazing, because I know that you've got a big history with playing the able-bodied side of the game, and then to come into the nights. Was that so? That was just purely from a coaching position, was it, or was you? And then it kind of pushed into playing a bit after that.
Well, probably with the inclusivity of the guys who were involved in the sport. As soon as you got in, they were like, get in a wheelchair and have a wee go, and I'm like, there's no way. Yes, I did have an unbased bias or prejudice against disability, but I have that old sort of Irish superstition. If I even touch a wheelchair, I'm going to end up with a disability. I'm tempting fate or whatever. Then I started to coach a wee bit, and the guys are going, that won't work, and that won't work, and I'm going, how can you tell me that won't work? I'm an elite player and run a game of basketball, because I'm still dabbling playing then as well, and I've got all my coaching qualifications. I know that you have to make every time a two-handed pass, cut across the key, make these different cuts when we're doing half-court plays.
Yeah.
So get in the wheelchair. Then when I got in the wheelchair, I realised that you had to become extremely proficient to be able to pass with one hand, because guess what? You had to stop yourself from falling out of the chair with the other hand, or keep propelling that chair forward. Then I realised, yes, you can't make these certain cuts across the key and stuff like that, because guess what? Somebody who you look at and you go, they're not as physically able as me. Yep. They're going to stop you all day long because they've got great chair skills and they just know the game better. So I stepped into the chair, had a go, really raised my appreciation for the game and the skill level. And I think it has already been talked about in some of the podcasts, and certainly from other people who I've introduced to the sport since. I said to me, able-bodied people who played other sports, that wheelchair basketball is by far the most skillful sport in the world. Mm. Because you have to be able to do everything with two hands. Move, dribble the ball, shoot. And the thinking and the technical aspects of basketball are quite high anyway. But I mean, it has just blown me away, like how difficult the sport it is. But whenever you then master some of those skills, how great you feel as an athlete to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm sure the boys would kind of attest to as well. The watch, because obviously I've never played it. Aubrey put me off it, if I'm being honest with you. Can you remember the first session? I know I spoke about this, but I'm going to harp on about it again. Matt and Paul, and I think you were there as well, Jason. You invited me down within my first week of starting at DSNI, and come down, find out a bit more about the sport, get into a chair, get moving around the court and stuff like this. So I'm flying about, and obviously Matt, you're the quickest man on the planet. Jason's shooting the lights out. Nels is a flipping bull. James is flying past me, and I'm thinking, I feel like I'm going backwards here. Like, well, what is happening? So obviously I'm giving it my stacks. I don't want to get my flipping. I'm going right. I need to get into this. And I bust myself for about an hour and a half. And then Aubrey turns around and says, here, by the way, I let the earlier tires before we started. I was absolutely I had flipping blisters on top of blisters on my hands, and it was just like, oh, never again.
No way.
It's his fault. It's his fault. That's what I'm putting it down to. But to watch guys develop and see people's skill levels is just incredible. And then the higher up, obviously, you go in levels where currently Matt has played, but before all of you, to be fair, have all played. You just see the refinement of skill and the amount of ability, technical ability, and then intelligence that the guys have at that top level is just incredible. Yeah. So you're 100% right there, Jason. Give us an idea. So obviously we've been through Matt and Jason's journey. How, you started to tell us how you got involved with the club and kind of around that time, around 94, 95. Give us a wee bit of an insight.
So when I started, I was training. Paul and Aubrey were coaching me, obviously two legends of the game, and no better people to learn the game from. But I probably didn't actually start training officially with the Knights for maybe a year or maybe even 2 after that, because we were training at the Mitchell House School, and then later on in Antrim High School, I think it was. So I thought at that stage, Matt came along to a couple of those sessions as well, like, and I thought at that stage, I'm starting to get the hang of this, training with these new juniors and stuff, and this is great. And then came along to my first official night session in the Antrim Forum, and it was like playing a game. I was like, what the hell's going on here? So but it was brilliant. Like, I just loved it. I mean, all the guys, as Matt said before, all the guys were really welcoming, and made you fit right in. And obviously playing sport, I just love sport, so just getting stuck in and trying to get to that level again then over the next few years was a great challenge.
Yeah, no, 100%, James, and that's something that you kind of talked about around learning as you were kind of going up the different levels, and you had explained in the World Championship podcast that you went on against America, and you were just like, what is happening? What have I joined?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
First 3 minutes of that game, it was the sport that I'd never played before. Like, I was just like, what is happening? Why is everyone moving so fast? What's going on? What? And it's like, you were talking about like skill development, like the two main things to get to the next level are like knowing what to do and then having the skill to be able to execute it. And I didn't have either. Like, and that's I think that's a consistent thing with like going from juniors up to seniors from Div 1 up to Premier or Super League or whatever it was. Every step you take, it's the same sport, but it seems like it's just a different thing altogether, like a different animal, because everything's so much faster. So like what the sort of skill level and the decision making that you had in the previous level just doesn't get it done anymore. So you have to like sort of almost relearn some things, or at least you have to sort of become accustomed to the speed of the game. And like, that's certainly what I felt like when I stepped up the seniors. Like, I remember, I think I cried my first year playing seniors just because I don't know. Actually, I remember I did cry my first year of seniors. It was great. But I was only a child. But
That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting. And I think for you three boys, a bit of a question for all three of you. Obviously, at the minute, you've got kind of people around Northern enjoying new clubs and probably got that feeling of nerves of starting a club. Now, you know yourselves, you forget that 20 years on, 30 years on, whatever. You kind of relived it a little bit. What would you guys give as advice to anyone who's going to join the sport, whether it's at the Knights or any other club? What would that be?
Can I step in here just a wee second, because it's something I've been thinking about because of lockdown. I think it's going to be a real challenge to DSNA and to keep the league going. Thinking about those players who have had to overcome those barriers of stepping into the sport because of what I've been listening to in the podcast, because it's been brilliant. People saying that, like Samantha last week, or what I'd heard hers last week, that blew me away, right? Cried the whole way to training. James saying he cried his whole first year, whatever. I know Paul's still crying because of how the teams were forming. I'm crying because of trying to get people to do things in the club. But I digress. Those people did what really stick with it. It'll be worthwhile for those people who have put so much organisation into it up to now. For those people who have thought about it for years, as Neil said, in his podcast, he thought about it for years and years and years before he came along. So please don't let this here unfortunate circumstances happen to the whole world be that thing that stops you from going back to it, because we will be there. It might look a wee bit different, but come back to your clubs, support them. Craigavon's got in a great place because they're going to come back to a brand new facility now, But stick with it, come back, you will get so much out of it, and take a chance as I did 20 years ago. Everybody here has for the sport of wheelchair basketball. Like, I could tell, like Phil, yourself, when you came and volunteered for the Knights. Yeah. But whatever length of time ago that was, you never thought it was going to lead you to this now. When James started as a 5-year-old timid wee lad, as he said, and now he's a world champion, and all these other stories, stick with it. The clubs, it will be brilliant for you, for your life, for your mental and physical health, and you'll be friends, and it'll be with you for a long, long time,
Yeah, 100%.
Can I just jump in and say, the guys like Ivor Jess and those boys back in the day, Paul, Jason Black, Aubrey, Michael Munnis, this crew, when they were back in the 90s, they were training repetitively every single week. All the sessions they were at them. And I think that's, to get the most out of it, you need to take the chances and get to the training sessions, and you'll get the most out of it then by putting more in. It's something, I think you get in a mindset where you're just like, that evening on the Tuesday's block booked, that evening on the Thursday's block booked, and you feel like, actually, if I'm not there, I'm letting the guys down, because they have nobody to train up against. It's going to push them harder, and everybody, you realize it's not just yourself that you're missing the training for, you're missing it for the team. So it's always good to get there and get and bring your team on by making all the sessions. I think it's massive. You just see the rewards out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suppose from my point of view, I'm thinking about all those names that you mentioned and the guys that we had on the last podcast, and Paul and Ivor and Aubrey. And is that where the culture came from, lads? Like, obviously you've all came in and there's been a foundation laid. Is that where the culture of the club came down? Because obviously you're a highly competitive club, but also you look after people from within the club, and that's something that I think is happening, nationwide right now. But is that where the culture came from? Those original kind of like founding members?
No doubt. Some of the guys when they started, Michael Monas had come from a rugby background, so and they were pushing for high levels of sport before they had their injuries. So they weren't happy with coming in and starting a wheelchair basketball club that also wasn't pushing to a high standard. So those guys, no doubt, set the tone early. And a lot of I remember, so when I started to drive 17, 18, those guys were not just training. They're 2 days a week. They were doing individual sessions, maybe 3 and 4 of them, 2 of them meeting up like an extra afternoon a week to do some shooting in the forum. So this all that ethics and mindset is what brought them, on to those higher standards, and that's something that we brought through them. So when you join that, you're like, oh, well, this is what is expected of you, and you become that person that's leading on to the next person that joins. It sees this is the standard to be setting, and it's something I think. The Knights in general have started to lose it a wee bit in the last wee while, and that's something we've been talking with Paul about. That's something that we need to get back into being the priority. That and I'm sure the boys are all the same. You feel terrible when you're missing the training session, like you're letting your whole team down, and that's important if to bring that team to where you want it to go. You need guys to have that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I suppose it's like that ripple effect, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like you bounce off Nels bounce off you, and then you've got somebody like Jason who's tying everything together, because obviously for a long time, Jason, you took on that kind of head coach role. How did that kind of feel whenever you came in? Were you've discussed about, you came in and you maybe had preconceived notions of what people with disabilities could kind of bring to the table. But how did it feel then with your first kind of competitive successes and things? Could you talk to us a wee bit about competition?
Well, regarding starting off coaching with the Knights, as I say, the initial impression was excellent. The guys were very strong. They were physically impressive, right? Wasn't what I would have envisioned somebody who was in a wheelchair. I then very quickly discovered that Paul Gallagher travelled nearly 2 hours to training and 2 hours home. We finished training maybe one of the nights it was certainly 10 o'clock anyway, so he wouldn't be getting home to midnight. Done that twice a week. With Peter Mitchell, done the same. With the guy who used to travel from Letterkenny for a very short period of time. Matt travels from Rathfarnham, takes a long period of time. So I had guys, and I knew these guys they wanted to get out and come and play the sport. Yeah. Because in my mind, even though I didn't know a lot about it, there must be more people with disabilities than this. This can't be. So these people want to be there. They're traveling great distances. They're putting a lot of commitment into it. And then all of a sudden, I didn't know that the club was striving for great things. They were just at a point when I was there. I had no baseline, but I knew they travelled back and forth to England for matches. I knew they were going to a European tournament because we were going to Austria just shortly after I had done that. In fact, I'd done a coaching session and we were away to Austria. I was like, right, dead on. But I was going, this never happened in the running game. So I had this, all of a sudden, this idea that the running game was the absolute pinnacle. The furthest I'd been to was Cork or Castle Island down in Kerry, which takes a long time in a car, but I wasn't flying to any games, wasn't that? So that level of professionalism was there right from the start. Having the players that were traveling a lot, were physical specimens, were really good basketball players, could also move those chairs in ways that I was going, oh my word, like, what is this all about? Yeah. So I very quickly discovered that I had a group of people who, when I said, I want you to do this, they were just a way of doing it. They would try and they would strive. Whenever they challenged me, the genuine challenge about, that just might not work in this game. So try it, get in the chair, had a go. Didn't love it at the start because nobody does when they get in the chair, especially from an able-bodied perspective, because you're still trying to move your legs.
Yeah.
And you get out of the chair after a training session, you go, why are my legs so sore? And I've used my arms. But that's, I was just, as I say, very, very lucky. And then when you go on the court and you're being really competitive, and I could be as passionate coaching, probably more passionate coaching, purely coaching from the sideline, as it could be when I'm on the court playing. But just the guys on the court and they're winning games. One of the ones that really sticks out in my mind, and I'm not going to get the name of the team right, we went and played in the Willie Brinkman Cup in Badajoz in Spain. Sorry for the pronunciation, James. But we played a Swiss team, and they were absolutely brilliant. I mean, this place was rocking. I can't believe this. They had cheerleaders, they had loads of fans, and they had the big speaker behind the away bench we were sitting on, so the team players couldn't hear me. And they like to watch the girls dancing at timeouts and stuff. Like, when you pay attention. But we played this Swiss team that were absolutely brilliant, and Jason Black and all was playing then. By the way, what a player, what a shooter. And we won that game by only a couple of points, and I was just like, wow, this is European level competition.
Yeah.
We have won a game in the Willie Brinkman Cup against a team that I perceive to be of a really, really high standard. And then the only, without going into every single great achievement, there's two more very special. One was James. I'm nearly sure you were there the first time we went away with the junior team to Greenbank.
Yes.
Greenbank Academy.
Yeah.
Matt says about him scoring his first basket after a year and a half. We took a junior team away to a wee tournament. We couldn't even get over the halfway line all weekend. Yeah. And we scored one basket all weekend. Wow. I can't remember who scored it, but see when that basket went down, the other teams, supporters and everybody was watching cheered just as loud as us. We had parents jumping up and down in the bleachers going absolutely mad because we had scored one basket. One basket all weekend, and we felt like we won the world championship.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. I can't actually remember the other example now because that was such a good one, So but it doesn't have to be a great winning a world championship like James was very lucky to do, and we all watched it. It was fantastic, But to see those kids getting that one wee thing was absolutely brilliant, So I remember now, I'll have to say this here, we beat Oldham, Oldham's first team in Oldham. Matt will agree with that, and Nelson.
Yeah.
I had just got registered that year, and there was some mad classification thing that no matter what points you were your first year, you had a point off.
Right.
So it was a 4.5. I was playing as a 3.5.
No way.
Okay. As coming from the running game, I could always shoot the ball a wee bit. Came on at the end. Game was tied. I ended up with the ball at the top of, maybe 15, 20 feet out. They obviously weren't marking me because who's this new guy? He's playing. This is a coach coming on for a wee go at the end. And I just cranked up the shot that went in. A couple of seconds left, they didn't score. We won. We beat Oldham's first team in Oldham. That was a really special moment.
That took about 15 years coming. The Knights had never beat Oldham up until then. I think that was probably 2005-ish. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Class. Big day. From like a player's perspective, Paul and Matt, like what did that feel like to be involved in within a competitive kind of point of view? Jason's talked about successes, but how did that feel as players, Matt?
I guess with a team that was putting the work in, we were pushing for better results. We were wanting to get to the top of the table. We were looking to get up into the next league. It was just I'm a competitive person, so when you get a chance to play wheelchair basketball at that level and everybody's in that same mindset, it's a great thing to be seeing growing and to be part of. I guess some of the clubs or some of the tournaments and things that we got away to, it's always nice to get you're used to playing in the league and it's the same old players and the same teams, and that one's going to be hard to beat. And this one, when you go to a tournament that's all brand new, everybody turns it up a notch, and brings something special. So we had some great tournaments over the years, and it's Lisbon. I remember actually 2003. It was the qualifier for the Euros. Aubrey got an MVP. I remember that. And that top level is where you want to get to. It's just amazing to be there. And listening to James talking about the moments when he does his GB, like first minutes on, and such a high level game is just like the stuff that puts her stand on the back of the net. Amazing.
Yeah. And Paul, what about you? How did that feel? Obviously, Matt's talked about the experience he's had and wanting to be part of that. How did you feel?
Yeah, well, I was exactly the same as Matt. I'm a competitive person, so when I came in, I wanted to get to that next level and become comfortable with the juniors, and then eventually with the seniors. And the higher we got up the leagues, I wanted to be able to compete at those levels, and I was lucky to have been given my first sort of taste of GB League basketball. I was quite young. I think Wendy and Adrian Cullen, they were the coaches back then, and I was thrown into a game. I just was there for the. I was there for the crack. Just I'm part of the squad, but I'm not really going to get a look in here. And it was away in Sheffield, and the way the guys are talking there about how big a deal it was to beat Oldham away. Sheffield's the next. They're the two big teams, always have been, still are. And going away to Sheffield, like I'm looking around some of the guys, and it's like, they've just been playing in a Paralympics, and I recognise some of the faces, never seen them before, and face to face. And I'm just sitting on the bench like flipping, starry-eyed flipping, fanboy. And then next thing I get the call to go on the court, and I'm going, what's going on here? And I went in, and I can't remember much about it, but I thought I did all right. And I can't remember whether it was 1 minute or 20 minutes I got, but I just remember being on that court, not being my first experience, and just kind of trying to make it up as I went along. And every experience since then has been, it's been the culture since I joined, as Matt has said. The guys have always been competitive, but it's always been a good club, kind of, everybody sticks together, everybody's mates, and there was never a kind of you're out of your comfort zone here. It was always everybody's competitive, but we're all going together, and it was absolutely brilliant, every experience. The more we played, used to love going to the European tournaments, and as the guys say, they're just a wee bit different to the bread and butter of the league, and you're playing against world stars and these teams you've never seen before, and against with big crowds as well. We're lucky if we get 3 people watching us, and after forum, go there and there's a few hundred, at some of the games, and it's just phenomenal to think that I've had those experiences.
Absolutely. And James, the guys have talked about culture, and it's something that me and Danny would chat about all the time in the office. And obviously Danny's doing a lot of work with the new clubs coming through, and always trying to kind of shape that environment. And there are a lot of people clearly focused on the Knights in regards to, and it's great to get everybody on to talk about those experiences so other clubs can feed into that. But from a personal perspective, James, how did that did you feel that culture as soon as you came in? I know that you had kind of explained to us that you came in as a young kid, you were really, really timid, but was it very clear that the culture was there, or how did you feel about it?
I wouldn't say I was timid. At the same time, I'm sure I still talked about as much as I do now, but I remember I stepped up from just junior training to doing a couple of senior things in the sort of pre-season before I went to my first junior camp. So I was 14, I think, and I just remember I'd been going from like junior stuff or doing my own thing, and there's certain things that I thought I could get away with, like certain different, like not using my left hand here or trying this pass or whatever. And I just remember one of the first things I did was like, nope, not good enough, right? Sideline, just everyone over to the sideline, pushing back and forward. I think it was 16s or whatever, but it was like there was just a level of excellence required at that level that wasn't at previous sessions I'd been to, and that was just, you can either go 2 ways there. You can either be like, this is crap, or well, I'm not bothered, or the alternative, which was what happened, was I was lucky to be in a good group of 3 good guys in this chat and a handful of other good guys that were there as well, where there was kind of an atmosphere where people were pushing each other and people were encouraging each other. And I remember doing there'd be like drills where you'd like do shooting drills against each other, and then the losing team would go and push, and then I'd see like these 3 guys, if they were on the winning team, they'd push as well, or you know what I mean, or you'd like finish a conditioning drill and someone else would still be pushing, so they'd go and join it and stuff like that, where I was just like, all right, cool, that's what you do here, that's how you get better. Like I said on the podcast last week, which it'll be released by the time everyone's seen this, obviously, but like these three guys taught me how to take this game seriously. Like, Nelson, I told the story about you leaving me in Jordanstown by accident, which is a great one.
The legitimate coaching technique, James.
Pardon?
Legitimate coaching technique.
Yeah,
it's in the session plan.
So that was just like that summer. I was doing the extra night sessions and pushing a lot more, shooting a lot more, and I'd like get to training and I'd get a text from me like, "Hey, we're in the track. Do you want to come around here?" Like, and that was the sort of same sort of time that I got involved in Sinai, and I was coming to sessions that Matt and Nelson would have been doing in Sinai, and they'd have a court session done before the gym or after the gym, and I'd be allowed to join in and that sort of stuff. And that was my real first taste of like elite level stuff and like elite level attitude, because like Kirby didn't let me get away with anything. I think, Kirby, you must have decided you must have just been like, all right, let's see what this guy can do, let's push him, and it worked. So yeah, like I have a lot to thank you three for the sort of good habits and the attitude that I have. Like I'd always say I learned my work ethic like split somewhere between my dad and Knight. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's I wouldn't, I don't know where I'd put the line, but somewhere in there. Like that's where you learn it. Like if you're lucky enough to grow up in a club that takes it seriously and works hard and has good people around you, like that you'll probably be lucky enough to kind of get a good work ethic and a good attitude from it.
And Jason, I have a quick question for you, and then I suppose the other two guys can jump in as well. How does that make you feel whenever you hear somebody speak kind of about you guys in such a high regard as a club?
It fills you with great pride, you know. You don't do the things for the long term adulation. Let's put it that way. My philosophy in basketball was I grew up, went to school in Derry, and they didn't have a basketball program or anything like that, and I just loved basketball. I didn't discover the sport until I was 14, by the way. That gives you an idea of how old I am. But I just loved it. Threw everything into it, discovered I was good at it, had an aptitude for it. But I always thought it's about giving people an opportunity, and part of giving people that opportunity is pushing them, you know, but getting them to try and strive for excellence, not for the pure joy of winning games, because that when it's short-lived, because the next game's just coming after that. The next training session's coming after that. There, you can have injury, illness, or anything could be a barrier to that afterwards, or just up against a better team or have a bad day. But it was just about giving the opportunity for people that they might take it, that they might go and become a world champion, a double world champion, or they might just find a sport that they enjoy, and it might give them something as an outlet that they can give as much to it as they want or not. And then on top of that, there became then those opportunities within the club, organisational wise as well, because you do get a lot from that. Because then what you find out is from the coaching and the organisation wise, people like James saying nice things about the club. You know, the guys have obviously experienced that with the other guys there too. But without those people who are excellent players and show excellence, not just in their skill level and their ability, but just at all round, you know, I never thought that it was showing any great example other than me getting a bit of extra training by saying, look, I'm out in the track beforehand, or we'll push extra. If the other team's getting punishments as such, you know, for not performing so well, I'll push as well, because it's getting me a bit of extra training. So it's really nice to hear that there. And all the really difficult times, and let's go out to all the people who run the clubs, there are some really, really difficult times, like, and you want to quit. I've been wanting to quit every day for 20 years. But
especially every May.
It's nice to hear James saying that there, but it's also nice to see other players coming through and getting something really out of the sport. A kid catching the ball for the first time. You know, our new kids that are in there, you know, not new kids, but new people who come to the club. Their family, he's seeing some of their family members' expressions when they turn up, first of all, and they bring the whole entourage with them. You know, and they're like going, wow. And then after a while, they tend to sort of fade away, and the player sticks with it, you know. And we've come on a great journey with James, as we all have, because we've known each other for a long time. But the one standout moment in my mind was whenever James went out with a Paralympic flag in London.
Flip, wow.
Just blown away, you know. it still makes you feel a bit emotional now thinking about it. So yeah, it was a really thing, really good thing.
No,
Yeah.
it's really funny. I'm glad you used the word journey, because that's a word that me and Phil use quite a bit around journey, about how everyone's journey will be different. The end points will be different as well. It might be a world championship, it might be just for recreation or whatever. But that culture's got to be. We've spoken about cultural method. It's got to be 100% right. So it caters for all those kind of journeys, if you like. I think that you guys have got that right. And it probably is set by the guys before you, and then you've continued that on and probably enhanced that further with Aubrey introducing the juniors, and you've got 2 nights now, and all those different things. So no, it's great to hear you say about the journey. James, one example,
Matt, did you know in terms of James tagging along to those S&C sessions and the different things, did you know how much of an impact that you were having on him, or was it just a matter of, this is how it is, lad, and we'll get to it?
No, like we could tell from early that James had talent, I remember talking to his dad, saying his dad was talking about something me and Paul were getting on the GB squad or something like that, and I'm saying, well, have your son's not that far behind us, keep an eye on this one, and so but in that we're training, we're busting our gut every time, trying to get to the highest standard, trying to be the fittest, trying to beat your speed record every time. So you don't actually realize that it's your work ethic that's feeding on to somebody, and a lot of it happens by accident, just by that. But you look at this is James's story, and like you say, he's gone to the top level. Yep. Well, everybody's got a direction in this that'll have some other level of inspiration in it, and while you're part of the club, you're able to inspire people directly, not having to do anything special, just by going to be there, being feeding in wherever you can, helping and putting your best into it. It feeds out in a big circle. Yeah,
absolutely. And then Nels, like to summarise that, I know you left him behind. I think he's forgive you.
So funny that.
Obviously, you have moved on to being the head coach now, and passed on that baton to you. But from your perspective, were you aware of the impact you were having on James? But besides giving him a minor heart attack at that time,
child abuse in the middle of it all, So I remember thinking when James started training with us, I wish he would go away, because we were the ones supposed to be the internationals, and they come along and he's blowing us out of the water. So he made me look bad, but obviously obviously had the talent from an early age. James is saying about the work ethic and all that we had, and I mean, I don't see it in that way. I mean, it was just everything we did with basketball it was fun to do. It was we would play basketball all day, every day. For me, like, doing work is something that you don't really enjoy, but you have to do it, for a certain outcome. I just, love basketball, and I mean, looking back, it's obviously the same as Jason. I'm very proud to hear people talk so highly of the club and us and stuff, but at the time, you're just doing it because you enjoy it, and James was along for the ride, kind of thing, and I was kind of just, I wanted a training partner at the time, and James was always keen and available. And as I say, he was a talented kid, so it wasn't that I was just using him for numbers. He was pushing me hard, And it's been that way all the way along. It's just, basketball is just fun, so I don't see it as, it was always that. As Matt said, the guys before us, Michael Munnis, Ivor Jess, Paul and Aubrey, they had that same work ethic, but I didn't see it as that. It was a chance to play basketball at any opportunity, and why wouldn't you do that?
It's just like everybody shared the love of the game, and then it was just,
that's it. It was the love of the game.
You're working hard, but you're working hard in the sense of doing something that you enjoy. I think James has talked to me about that before. He's very open about, you're playing a kid's game, and you just enjoy it. While it's hard, and while it, it takes a lot of intelligence, a lot of skill, but you're just enjoying yourself, and I think that's whenever it's a purest form of sport, in my opinion, anyway. But no, it's cool to hear, you guys talking about, to each other about those types of things. And I think if any clubs are out there, and I know Danny works heavily with them, but take that stuff on board, try and get kids and new people coming into the sport and existing people to love the sport, get a grasp of it, and try and enjoy it as much as you can. Even though the training sessions and different things are hard, but to make sure you're sticking the good fight, because you love the sport pretty much. I suppose from our point of view, our leagues growing in Northern Ireland from a domestic point of view now, and that's obviously down to the hard work of all the clubs and then Danny himself as well from a development point of view. But can you remember, like, I'm always very, very interested in, like, who was the best domestic player, Jason, that you came across in your kind of era, in that noughties era?
Oh, Frank, I'm going to go back right to that there moment in Oldham, right? Just purely because the player who was playing, and I'm nearly sure was marking me at the time when I threw up this mad shot and I went in, was Dan Johnson. I mean, Dan Johnson, he's an absolute legend of the game, and Oldham was just full of legends. But when I used to watch him playing basketball, I was like, he doesn't look like he's in a wheelchair playing basketball. He was so smart, so intelligent. There's few players like that there from a domestic point of view. I was very, very lucky for a year that I got to play with Wolverhampton Rhinos. I mean, that was the GB Paralympic team sort of then. Some of the legends are still playing. I'm not even going to start to name them because that would just be ridiculous because I can't remember them all. But Dan Johnson was a really standout player for me, and I'm sorry for all the other fantastic players that I've played with and against over the years. But yes, he was brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. Matt, what about yourself? You got a favorite?
Well, I'm just having a bit of a throwback memory to, obviously, once again, like Kirby says, there was a ton of good players, and in the lead up to Paralympics, they always overloaded the league, so you had players coming back. So I remember in the run up to it, had to be Beijing. Terry Bywater was playing with Teesside, Newcastle, and they came across and they played nights in the Forum, and Terry shot like I had to be high 70s, 80% shooting, maybe more. It was unreal. I couldn't believe it. Like, really lovely high swisher shots after shot, big range. Terry Bywater's always, the shot's been so impressive, and he can really, really turn it on. But yeah, like Kirby says, there's a lot of good guys out there, a lot of good players. Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell a story where he broke his wrist just before the Paralympics.
I didn't break his wrist. he
fell out of the chair playing us at the Antrim Forum and broke his wrist. It actually I was part of a documentary many years ago as this young talented prodigy going to make the Paralympics, and he did anyway. So.
Oh dear. Look at Matt's face. He's got
relief.
Good defense. I'm glad there was no video footage. Could have been called out that one.
Yeah.
What about you, Nels?
Yeah, like the guy says, so many. I mean, I look, first of all, here at home, like the Paul and Aubrey were just two of the best players as I was growing up. They were just like, I couldn't see past them. They were the best players in our team. And I think if the current kind of setup in wheelchair basketball was in place back then, those guys would have had numerous caps for Great Britain. There's no way they shouldn't have played at that level. I don't know their situation, whether they went for that or not. I've never really spoken to them about it, but to me they were phenomenal, and they always would have been. It was no secret in them days that Paul and Aubrey were the two go-to guys. You give them the ball, in all their GB League games, and they still scored 20, 30 points each every game, and teams knew that they were going to be the main scorers, and they still couldn't really stop them. And going then, I guess, to the over to the English teams and stuff. Dan Johnson again sticks in my mind. And I was lucky enough I joined Oldham in the build up to London 2012, and he coached me. He's a great guy as well, but yeah, so knowledgeable about the game, and it's like he's playing in an armchair, he's all cuts easy to him, and Terry Bywater again, like Matt says there, that one game, I think every game we played when he came up against the Knights, he shot about 95%, it was just like he beat us on his own every year, and all the players from Oldham and Sheffield as well, like they always had the top players through the years. Kev Hayes again, he would always shoot the lights out against us.
Yeah, Colin Price, he was some player back in the day.
Simon Mons.
So many, like you could sit here and name we can name them next hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know some of the guys that you are shouting out there. There's some that I have seen play, currently still playing, and then some of the other guys like Colin Price. Unfortunately, I never really get the opportunity to see those guys, or Dan Johnson, to be fair. So it's really, really good to hear different names and to get a feel in because it is such a rich history. I don't think people actually realise, especially new people coming into the sport, how much history there is in wheelchair basketball, not just in Northern Ireland, but across, in Ireland and across the UK and across Europe and the world. So it's amazing just to get that. We felt that this series of the podcast should be about that, trying to get it around in terms of what the history looked like and the certain personalities and people that have made the game what it is now. And it's amazing to hear some of those stories and some of those kind of thoughts. And I suppose that brings me on to, like, I can remember the 25th anniversary, and we're coming in now to the Knights Wheelchair Basketball's 30th anniversary. So I thought I'd throw a few wee stats out to you in regards to other formats within leagues or different teams that you may be surprised that you're actually older than. So here's a bit of history for you, okay? Guys listening out there. So the Memphis Grizzlies, anybody idea when it was founded?
They were the Vancouver Grizzlies up until, I don't know.
95. So Nelson, about the time you started.
Got them.
Yeah. Toronto Raptors.
They're about 2000, are they?
Yeah, I think they
Founded 95.
Oh, I did.
95, same kind of era. A slight twist. So we've obviously got, people are watching a lot of football these days. Premier League. Anybody idea when the Premier League was founded?
Nelson, you'll know this.
Huh?
92, was it?
92, big man's on it. 92.
The biggest question is who won the last First Division? Leeds United. Carry speed.
Moving on.
And then we got Cantona.
That's it. Get your
We've not been back since.
And then MLS, obviously, the Americans went through a massive explosion with football. When was that founded?
2000.
No,
Yes.
93.
Fine year.
What's it? What?
Fine year.
But that's just an insight as to how much history there is. Obviously, everybody has heard of those things before. We've all watched the NBA. We've all seen those teams play. We've watched certain games of the MLS. We've had massive stars like David Beckham go across the water. And then the Premier League is just huge. But it just shows you basketball developed, and especially when the Knights developed prior to that. It's had a 30-year history. I think people just need to be aware of that sort of thing, that there is history there, and you should try and do a wee bit of digging. And when you are going along to the domestic league and the GB league, get to know people, get to talk about the history and the things that have gone on in the past around that. So guys, listen, it's been really, really, really great to have you on and discuss the kind of naughties coming up through, and your experiences have just been unbelievable. Obviously, you've all got different things going on, different journeys, and different careers in one thing or another, but it's been massive to hear how inspiring you've been to people like James McSorley and a lot of others within your club, and then how others that we've talked about previously in episode 9, how they inspired you and the club culture that kind of grew from that period. And I think they're the important things. As you said, Jason, you can kind of focus on the wins week by week, but they're only short term, whereas whenever you actually sit down and reflect on what you guys have built and what's been achieved within the sport, it's just massive. It makes the hair stand up in the back of my neck, to be honest with you. So guys, thank you very much for coming on and giving us your insight. It's always hard to try and get that within an hour period, all that experience, 10 or 11 years worth, maybe more. Like, it's crazy, and you could go on for forever. But we're going to move on to apparently the best part of the podcast, Danny's lightning round. So Danny, if you want to take it away.
Jason, come on.
We're not
happy. A few times before.
Listen.
That's fantastic, Danny. Sorry, edit that bit out.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Ed's too big for the little square. But no, it's best part of it. So similar thoughts last week. So you won't have seen this yet, but basically same 10 questions, but I go around each, you give you one each, so you get 3 or 4 questions each.
All right.
No merchandise yet, saying this is the best part. So a bit fuming about that. Anyway, Jason, I'm coming to you first. All right.
Okay.
Best moment in sport for you?
Oh, I'll tell you what, the most, whenever I got was told by Kenny Mackay, a great old classifier, that I was able to play wheelchair basketball. that I would get my classifications able to play. That was outstanding for me. I have to say, it was fantastic.
Great,
yeah.
Good shout. Great shout. Matt, coming to you. Funniest team member you ever played with?
Funniest team member?
Yeah.
It would have to be. It's a guy when I played across in Cologne in Germany. It's a Dutch guy. Yeah, those Dutch guys are crazy. You know, I have to tell you a story, right? The two guys were actually not the funny one. The other two Dutch guys were really headstrong lads, and we were both parked in this little place that we stayed. Not a very great apartment, but anyway, I'd done it for the year. And when we come out, we're going to training. The two guys come out. You could go out of the place two different ways. The two guys come out and faced against each other, right? And they just sat there. None of them would give in. And we're like, this is maybe half an hour before. No word of a lie. This went on for maybe 23, 27 minutes or something. The other guys in the passenger seat, these guys they're not even communicating. They're just full on like a blank. And we were late for training, and it got to the end. I'm like, come on, like we need to go. Like the coaches bananas. Ended up, we finally got them to. I don't think anybody actually had to give in, so they were all right about it. And we got a complete rollicking. Wi-Fi was just turned up to training late. So that's
very good. Paul Nels, hardest trainer. You can't see yourself either.
Tough call between these two guys, Matt and Jason. And they're the guys that set the standard for everybody else, because we've been through it all. I mean, from the start. So bringing that sort of work hard and be there every week culture, those guys are there every week, no matter what their personal situations, you know. So
yeah,
and they give it 100% every day.
Oh, good shout. Jason, back on to you. Toughest opponent can be either a team, individual, whatever.
Matt?
Yeah.
You ever try and not only because of me, I used to be a part of the coaching setup for the GB team as well. And I used to see some of the greatest players in the world with a fear in their faces when they were doing the one-on-one shadow drill or knockdown drill. They just couldn't get past them. When I was a lot younger and fitter, and I would always set myself against Matt to go up against him and those drills, and it just should absolutely break my heart. All I did was go backwards while I was trying to go forwards, and I ended up with really sore hands with blisters. Couldn't get past him. I've seen the best players in the world try to get past Matt Rolston, and they just can't do it.
There we go. Good answer. Matt, to you, sporting hero. Who is it?
Sporting hero. So we're going like away from Northern Ireland, I guess. I played a lot of wheelchair basketball in my life. I'm one of the ones that doesn't watch the NBA, although I watched the Netflix show lately and jumped onto that bandwagon. Yeah. But tennis would have been something I'd been watching through my life, I guess. If you're thinking of somebody I'm knocking on a bit, I've been hanging on for a while. I was 40 there in February, and for a long time you're thinking like Jason has set us an amazing example for the last lot of years and been working really hard and not lost his edge at all in training, you know, actually putting more work in a way to get the standard up. But as you're getting older, it's constantly in your head, actually, maybe maybe I'm fading down now. James McSorley actually beat me in a sprint session for the first time about 4 years ago. That was the start of the tipping over the edge. But I guess think about like international sports stars, Roger Federer, you know, he was top of the game. Everybody's going, oh, the big man's lost it. He's down, he's dropping, he's up in the top 5, he can't make it. And then he comes back and starts being a winner tournament after tournament for another many years since he's had his dip. Like that's some phenomenal stuff.
That's a great show. That's a great show.
Inspiration for the old boys.
Nels, give us a fact about yourself. Go on.
Oh, give me the easy ones.
Matt's got the worst question coming next.
Oh dear.
About myself. In lockdown, I'm currently trying to teach myself how to speak French.
Nice. I like that.
It's not going well.
I like that.
It's
like Delboy, are you? Yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. I say au revoir when I turn up and bonjour when I leave.
Jason, an aim for the future for you in Wales basketball?
Nathan McCabe.
Okay. Very good.
That kid has he's got such a great attitude to life. When you see some of the stuff he does on Facebook and that, I mean, he's the type of guy, the wheelchair just happens to be something that he needs to help him to get from A to B. It's no barrier to him and all the stuff he's doing. I think he's got a great attitude and he really listens. You know, he's got great support with his mum and dad there as well. And I really hope that he can take that, embrace it and go forward, because I think he has it.
Shout. Matt, this is a stinker.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's a stinker. I've kept it in. A
This
quote
is
that
what editing videos is all about.
It is, yeah. A quote that you like or you live by. Oh.
Well,
I'm going to give you some thinking time just for a second because I was planning for this one here, but I'm only saying this because it'll be funny and everybody's going to look at it. Right? Go ahead, let me go with this one first.
let's
I think
have
you'll
it.
enjoy this here. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Nice. Yeah.
Because people say I'm a bit shy and don't like shooting the ball that much, and I pass it a bit too much. So that's my philosophy.
I like it. Matt, have you got anything?
Well, I suppose and when we were training in Sinai, there was a quote on the wall, and I don't have the exact wording of it, but it was along the lines of the huge amount of your hard work is done where nobody ever sees it, you know?
Yeah.
So the work's all done behind closed doors, and that's where you've got to really get
that.
or you're not going to get the small moment where you're actually get a chance to show that you've put the work in. Yeah,
it's the iceberg, isn't it? Yeah, totally. 100%.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Okay, Paul, a live sports event you want to see?
An NBA finals would be great.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah,
Good
nice.
shout. Good shout. Okay, this is one for all of you, so I'm going to come to each of you individually. What excites you about Wales basketball in Northern Ireland at the minute? Jason, I'll start with you.
The new league is just absolutely phenomenal, and the amount of people who are involved and the knock-on effect that has and the well-being and the mindset of their families and their friends. Like, I mean, it has such a wide reach. It's amazing.
Totally. Matt, yourself?
Well, we're taking all the good ones for Paul here, but yes, well, super. The NI League's looking amazing. Honestly, I've seen the videos. You guys, I haven't even been along. We've had clashes and matches, and I just haven't been there and all the ones. But it's amazing the energy that's going through and the amount of people that's reaching. But I guess for something different, the players that we have now that are pushing out on the world stage, like James has give us amazing viewing for a couple of years now, and we're all really proud. And if I'm totally truthful, I'm living my professional attempted playing James now. So watching guys like that, watching Con Nagel, who's gone across, he's in the big step. He's just growing up now. What is probably 19 now, is he? And again, a great future ahead of him, as well as all the other boys coming through in our club. Jason, Nathan McCabe. Yeah, there's a lot of good players, and I'm excited that we're already into a position where we have guys in squads, in national squads. You know, it's a great. Yeah.
No, great shout. Nels, it's difficult for you as it is, but I want you to do it in French.
Dead on. What they said. I think when my internet went out earlier, you must have said let's gang up on Paul, and you know, you can say everything before he has the chance to. Is that it? No. I think it's just so exciting where we are at the minute. It feels like, you know, we're on the cusp of something big. You know, and as Matt said, James is a sort of a trendsetter. He's the guy winning the world championships and stuff, and he's now where we wanted to be. And hopefully, with the way the league's set up and all the new clubs and the direction that they all seem to be going, it looks like I'm really excited to see all the future stars coming from Northern Ireland, because you know, James definitely won't be. He's the first, but he definitely won't be the last, and it'll be amazing to see. Hopefully there'll be, you know, a whole range of talent coming from Northern Ireland and giving this place the recognition it deserves for the sport.
Not totally. Listen, I think it's brilliant answers, and same as I said last week to the gents. From me personally, a massive thank you to you boys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and sometimes it's great to look back. And like Phil said, I think one of the things we were keen on was people to realise that basketball wasn't invented 2 years ago, 18 months ago. There's a nice wealthy history there, and there's so many cool stories and memories, and you know, you can see your all these faces lighting up when you talk about certain people or moments or games or whatever. It's brilliant to see. So I really, really appreciate it from a personal note. Thanks very much. Phil, that's me. Best bit's done.
Yeah, it is generally the best bit, because you get so many laughs out of it. But listen, thanks very much for coming on, everybody, including James and Danny. You're on every week and sticking at it. And I really can't believe that we're on, like we're so far down the line in terms of 10 episodes already. So it's been fun, and we'll continue to have fun and continue to kind of move on with different podcasts. I think next week we're going to be going with the current crop of people they're in the sport to a certain extent. And so that'll be exciting to hear from what their future views are and what their past has kind of been in their journey in the sport too. So keep an eye out on that, guys. Obviously, keep an eye out on the social media for Disability Sport NI, for the podcast, as well as other kind of things that we'll have going on from a health and well-being perspective, and continue to follow the kind of public agencies' health advice around washing your hands, staying 2 meters apart, and then your social distancing as well. We all know that is having a massive impact on fighting this virus, so continue to do so. Again, guys, thanks very much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to get on with you, and it's an even bigger pleasure whenever you're on with guys that have had a massive impact in the sport and will continue to have a massive impact in the sport. So from me, just stay home, stay active, and stay safe. Peace, guys. See ya.